Many people ask themselves, is alcoholism a disease? And if they answered yes to that question, they often believe that the disease of alcoholism is incurable. During the arduous 10 years of trying to find a solution to my own drinking problem, I also ended up buying into this argument. And how exactly did I come to this conclusion? Well, the very first thing that I did is I looked at my family tree. My family tree is filled with people who have had drug and alcohol problems. Surely it must be part of my genetic makeup, I thought to myself. And then, as soon as I heard about this disease theory, I knew I must have it. My entire family must have suffered from this disease. That was the answer to my problem. I had a disease. That's why I couldn't control my drinking. Well, a large percentage of ex-problem drinkers also believe in the disease theory of alcoholism. But is alcoholism really a disease? Luckily, I now see my drug addiction exactly for what it was, an addiction. And these days, I now realize that I am not, nor ever had a disease. The cure for the so-called disease was simple. I stopped drinking. Ever since that day, life went perfectly well again. Now guys, I'm going to present 3 core arguments against the disease theory of alcoholism. I'll also explain why you don't need to adapt to the disease theory to get sober and how it actually ends up harming your journey. Here's the first major issue with asking, is alcoholism a disease? If you choose to believe alcoholism is a disease, you become the problem. You are essentially saying, I have a disease and it's all my fault. In addition to this, you end up taking away any personal responsibility. You end up saying stuff like, it's not my fault, I was born this way. Well, I'm sorry, but it is not true. Problem drinkers are not born this way and they have absolutely nothing wrong with them. If they drink a powerfully addictive drug and then they drink it again, I'd argue that that's the nature of the drug, not the person. What would you say to somebody that stopped taking heroin or stopped smoking cigarettes? That they also have to live with the disease for the rest of their lives? We know that this is not the case, but for some strange reason, we use this theory of disease for alcohol. So I personally tried the disease theory approach when I first went to AA. I was told here that I had an incurable disease with no known cure. I would have to suffer from this disease for the rest of my life. In other words, I was doomed, and I was going to be this way forever. Now, during my entire period of going to 12-step meetings, I had a sense of deprivation. I really thought that I had given something up that benefited my life. So if I ever felt like I wanted to drink alcohol, it must have been the disease in me talking. I was somewhat possessed or controlled by this disease. Listen closely, it does not have to be this way. Let me explain why. At the end of the day, it all boils down to the approach that you take to stop drinking. If you feel as though you've made a genuine sacrifice, you will feel like you're missing out. And when that happens, if you tell yourself that you have a disease, then guess what? It's no longer your fault. You're incurable, but you still feel deprived. And what's the solution to overcoming the feelings of deprivation? Well, you simply have to use willpower. There is no other way to get through those cravings. Buying into the alcoholism is a disease theory is nothing more than the willpower method relabeled. From personal experience and from talking to other problem drinkers, this is quite an ineffective approach. It can work for some time, weeks, months, even years, but you will always feel that you are missing out. If you buy into having a disease and you buy into AA 100%, then the disease theory can get you on the right track. There's absolutely no denying it. However, it didn't work for me, and if you're watching this video, probably didn't work for you either. The next issue with the disease theory is the part where there is no known cure. There absolutely is a cure, and it's to stop drinking, reasoning by first principles. That means bringing awareness to the beliefs that you have around alcohol, dismantling them, and then building a totally new paradigm or worldview. You essentially break down this complex problem and then you simply rebuild it from the ground up. You give yourself a totally new perspective. The problem with the disease theory is that you never do this. You simply have to live with this disease for the rest of your life. You never understand the core of the issue, which is thinking that alcohol provides a genuine benefit to your life. Instead, what you have to do is you have to exercise willpower forever. Imagine that. 20 years without drinking and you're still using willpower. I've heard people that have been using the disease theory for 10 plus years routinely say that they have to take it one day at a time to not drink alcohol. They still live with the mindset that alcohol provided a genuine benefit. And it's no wonder that they believe that they have a disease. If I'd been struggling for 20 years, still exercising willpower, I'd probably think that I have a disease as well. But it all boils down to the approach that the individual takes to stop drinking. When you go through first principles thinking, you face those core beliefs. You then break them down one by one. Whichever way you choose to go through first principles thinking is up to you. But once you realize that alcohol gives you absolutely nothing, the disease theory holds zero weight. The disease theory will only hold weight if you give it weight. And that's if you fully buy into it. If you take the right approach to stop drinking and you do it from reasoning by first principles, you start to realize the cure to your problem. And guess what? It's much more simple than you think. There's no need for step work, no need for willpower, and it just becomes a simple and logical decision. Now, when you believe you have a disease, there is another critical flaw. It has a huge emphasis on the negatives. Saying that you have an incurable disease for the rest of your life is not something that I found particularly empowering. Quite the contrary, I found it destructive. If I knew that I had an incurable disease that could strike at any minute, I wouldn't feel comfortable going towards a better quality of life. Imagine if you wanted to start a business or improve your business, or get a partner, or get your health back on track. You basically end up with this chain of disease around your neck forever. And don't forget, apparently this is an incurable disease. By choosing to say that you have a disease, you're signing yourself up for a life sentence of misery. But again, it all comes down to the approach that you use to stopping. If you use a method that requires willpower and makes you feel like you're making a genuine sacrifice, it's going to challenge you. It's going to feel extremely negative. If you use a method that brings awareness to your belief systems, you will feel the opposite. You will feel like you're about to make a positive change instead of making a negative change. You feel like you're about to do something great instead of bad and difficult. For me, this was everything. Having a positive outlook on the future instead of worrying about how I would handle all of these situations made all of the difference. I didn't need to change who I was to stop drinking. I needed to change my paradigm and my worldview. And I did this through first principles thinking. Once I had gone through this process, I realized that I was never the problem. Neither had I ever been the problem in the first place. The only problem in my life was the drug and the problems that the drug caused. Once I got rid of the drug, I never looked back. Life started moving in the right direction again. If you fully buy into the theory of alcoholism being a disease, then it's likely that you will be taking a very different approach to getting sober. However, if you've tried that already and it didn't work for you, the first principles approach can make all of the difference. Now guys, I do have a couple of spaces open on the Sober Clear coaching program at the moment. The Sober Clear coaching program is basically for people that want more out of life. They're typically professionals or entrepreneurs, and they know that alcohol is the one thing holding them back from good health, a good relationship, a thriving business, a thriving career. Alcohol is the thing that is stopping them. Now, if you click the link below this video, you can apply for a consultation call. That's where we'll diagnose your situation to see if this first principles approach is going to be the right one for you. So if you're interested in the Sober Clear coaching program, then make sure to click the link in the description. Guys, if you want to learn more about the 4 stages of stopping drinking or the 4 surprising truths to giving up drinking, then click the videos on the screen now.